If you ever feel out of control around food, you're not alone, and you're in the right place to learn practical, no-nonsense information about why you binge and how to stop. Binge eating does not mean that something is wrong with you. It's a natural but primitive brain response that you can correct. If you're ready for change, sign up for the Brain Over Binge self-paced online course for less than $20 per month. And if you feel you need personalized support, we also offer one-on-one coaching and group coaching. To learn more, go to brainoverbinge.com/subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Brain Over Binge podcast, where you learn a simple, brain-based approach to ending binge eating. I'm Kathryn, your host, and for those of you who are new here, I'm the author of Brain Over Binge and the Brain Over Binge Recovery Guide. I love coming on the show to share insights and information with you to help you let go of binge eating. Today I want to talk about the idea of eating whatever you want, whenever you want. This is a phrase I hear in the eating disorder space to encourage people to give up food restriction and food rules. And I also hear people speaking out against this phrase and this idea of eating whatever you want, whenever you want, because many say it's unrealistic and will lead to weight gain or poor eating habits. When I've mentioned this phrase, eat whatever you want, whenever you want, on the show before, I've talked about it as a misguided way to interpret intuitive eating, because intuitive eating is much more nuanced than this simple phrase. Most of you who listen to this show are likely familiar with the idea of intuitive eating. The philosophy was originally developed by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch in their book, Intuitive Eating, A Revolutionary Program That Works. And this philosophy and way of eating is helpful to a lot of people and to a lot of people recovering from binge eating. The basic theory is that your body knows what foods are best for you and how much you need to eat. And if you can just learn to follow that inner guidance, you'll be able to eat in a natural way and effortlessly maintain a healthy weight for your unique body. Intuitive eating is basically about trusting your body's innate wisdom. It's not just about following everything you desire in the moment. It's also about learning to be connected to how foods make you feel and making food choices based on that as well. If you want to learn more about this, I'm going to link a podcast episode and a blog post that I've done in the past in the show description. And this post and episode discuss intuitive eating and who it may be helpful for and not helpful for. Although intuitive eating is not simply an eat whatever you want, whenever you want approach, I started thinking more deeply about this phrase, and this is kind of where the plot twist comes in, because I had an insight recently that maybe we should all eat whatever we want, whenever we want, but only if we think of eating whatever we want, whenever we want, in a new way. I'll explain what I mean by this, but I want you to know that what I talk about in the rest of this episode is my own opinion and not meant to be a reflection of the tenets of intuitive eating. To start to think about this phrase differently, we need to begin with talking about the idea of wants. As humans, we naturally have many desires and wants. This is an absolutely normal part of our existence. And much of this wanting is fueled by our primitive brain and its reward center, or you could call it the pleasure center. We naturally want behaviors that are going to keep us alive, that are going to help us have pleasure or help us avoid pain. Eating is one of those behaviors that does all of the above. Whether or not we struggle with a binge eating habit, we're going to want. And we're going to want food, and especially tasty food. Some of us have stronger desires than others when it comes to food or other pleasures. And binge eaters have a glitch in this primitive system that makes them want massive amounts of food. But what's important to know is that having the experience of wanting something in the moment because of our primitive drives does not have much to do with what we actually truly want for our lives. Wanting is a feeling, a sensation, a sort of energy that moves through us, but it is not us. Going back to the phrase, eating whatever you want, whenever you want, you can see how this philosophy may be harmful. We want often, and we want food often. And in places where we are fortunate enough to have abundant food, we're presented with food often. We smell it, we pass by it, we see others eating it, and we see advertising for it. Normal eaters experience this too, and they still don't eat whatever they want, whenever they want. What normal eaters and recovered binge eaters get good at is distinguishing what they actually truly want from what they feel like they want in the moment. Basically, a normal eater decides what wants to follow and what wants not to follow, based on balancing their momentary desires for pleasure with their desire to feel good and to be able to function well in the world. A normal eater will certainly choose to eat just for pleasure sometimes, and even do this more often than is ideal for health. But when they eat purely for pleasure, it does not feel vastly out of line with their true self and the choices they want to be making. Someone who is not making these conscious choices and instead feels driven by cravings, or someone who is misinterpreting intuitive eating, could say, "I eat whatever I want, whenever I want." A normal eater who is making more conscious choices about food and food pleasure could say, "I eat whatever I want, whenever I want." And I hope you can hear the difference in what word I'm emphasizing. If we emphasize the word I, it changes the whole experience. Eating whenever you want, whenever you feel that desire, is not allowing your true self to make responsible adult choices with food. It's allowing your lower brain to run the show. But when you aim to eat whatever you want, whenever you want, it puts the choice back in your hands. For example, your lower brain may want to constantly graze all day, but that doesn't make you feel good. You actually don't want that. You feel better and more in touch with your body and your appetite cues when you eat a few nourishing meals and snacks during the day at generally the same times. That's what you want to eat and when you want to eat. So when you eat in that way that works for you, you are in fact eating whatever you want, whenever you want. You're in control, and your additional, excessive wants and the primitive brain desires are just along for the ride. Think about all of the other things you don't do or don't do exactly when you want because your higher brain has greater goals. Goals not to go broke or ruin your relationship or lose your job. We all disregard momentary desires sometimes for a more important want. And honestly, sometimes we do the opposite in that we disregard our greater goals for some guilty pleasure, and that's okay too. But it's about choosing that balance for ourselves. It's about connecting to what you actually want for your life and for your eating, and leaving room for enjoyment too. I was thinking about this topic a couple of months ago, and then I ran across a post from one of my favorite authors and podcast creators, Forrest Hansen. And the post was extremely insightful and highly related to what I'm talking about here. Forrest Hansen is the son of psychologist Dr. Rick Hansen, who I've mentioned on this show before, and they both host the popular podcast Being Well, that explores many topics relating to the mind and the brain and to helping people build inner strengths and greater happiness. Forrest's Instagram post said, "Much like dishes, laundry, and email, our wants never end. They expand to fill the space they are allowed." And I'm going to read the main parts of his description, and you can also find a link to the Instagram post in the show notes. Forrest said, "We can never, quote, get to the bottom of dishes, laundry, or email. Doing email simply leaves us with more email to do, as sending email means receiving more in return. Doing dishes today still means more tomorrow, and unfortunately, I never seem to run out of dirty clothing. Our wants work the same way. Most people carry around this sense that if they could just get to the bottom of their wants, they'd finally be happy. But the truth is that our wants expand to fill the space they are allowed. As we satisfy old wants, new ones appear to take their place. And even when we're currently enjoying that thing that we wanted, we can notice ourselves teleporting into the future, anticipating, planning, and desiring some new and slightly better version. The problem isn't just that our wants are never-ending and constantly expanding. It's that we can't solve this problem by abandoning wants altogether. Important boxes must be checked for us to feel fulfilled. There is space for our wants. But the trick is to be thoughtful not just about what wants we're filling that space with, but how much space we're allowing our wants to have. Are they in the passenger seat of the car or the driver's seat? I hope that this post from Forrest and my discussion has helped you see that you no longer have to be driven by your wants in relation to food or anything else in your life. But you can get skilled at determining what you truly desire. You can learn to give yourself ample pleasure when it comes to food, while still not following the endless wants that are part of the human condition. If you want more help as you navigate this and as you create a way of eating that works for you, you can check out the show description for the Brain Over Binge resources, including my books, online course, and options for coaching. If you're interested in group coaching or one-on-one coaching, I want to remind you that you can join a free call with Brain Over Binge coach Julie this Saturday, October 28th from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the link to join that call is also in the show description. During this call, Julie will give you support, encouragement, she'll answer your questions, and she'll help you understand how coaching can help you on your path to a binge-free life. As I wrap up today, I want to encourage you and remind you that you have the power to change your brain and live a binge-free life. The Brain Over Binge podcast is produced and recorded by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC. All work is copyrighted by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC, and all rights are reserved. As a disclaimer, the hosts of the Brain Over Binge podcast are not professional counselors or licensed healthcare providers, and this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice or any form of professional therapy. Eating disorders can have serious health consequences, and you are strongly advised to seek medical attention for matters relating to your health. Please get help when you need it, and good luck on your journey. Need more help? You can find all of our current and upcoming options for support at brainoverbinge.com.